All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Paragraphs and Power Chords. I have Kat. Even though I'm half Italian, I don't know if I'm gonna say your name right. Giordano. Am I
That
saying
is
it?
that is very spicy. I literally just say Giordano, but
Giordano.
that's welcome as well. So that
Jordan. See
works.
that it sounds so like so waspy when I say it like that. Giordano, like that.
Yeah.
That's the Calabria side of me comes out. So. And I'm excited to have Kat on. We kind of know each other through the internet and the writing world. We're kind of like, I'm like on the periphery of her scene. She's on the periphery of like all the different scenes I'm like on the periphery of. And but she's a musician. I dig her music. I've heard her play. I remember hearing your songs like on Facebook, I believe it was. You like
Yeah, I
show
used
like
to post
video.
on there a lot. Yeah.
And I've read some of your writing. I read it on Neutral Spaces, which I dug it, and I was like, she'd be great to have on. So, and for the people, because this is a video cast as well as a podcast. Here's her book. She's got a debut novel. So you have two books now, right? Right now it's two
Yeah.
books.
Yeah. Debut
So
poetry book a couple years ago and then debut
yeah,
novel in
the
2020.
Bukowski's. I want to say the ghost of Bukowski. The poet. No, the
Poet
poet.
confronts
Oh,
Bukowski's
tell
ghost.
me.
Yeah.
Give me the title. What's the title again?
The poet confronts Bukowski's
That's
ghost.
right. And I do, and I have that one too. And I remember reading that poem, and I enjoyed that poem a lot.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
so welcome. Basically, I want to like get to the start because I love dual artists. Like part of why I'm doing this is because I'm lonely and I want to connect with other kind of crazy people that are
Oh, good.
yeah. So hey, I already feel the Italian craziness. We got
Yeah.
a nice kinship here. And it's kind of like people that where one art form isn't enough, we're a little nutty,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like a what is a tribe or kin. So I've been wanting to talk with people like that have the two kind of crazy sometimes obsessions of making art with two total different art forms. So I want to start off with like, which one came first? Because you seem like you know your shit when you play piano. So it looks like it's something that maybe was part of your life. I don't know though. So was it music or writing? What came first to you?
I started taking piano lessons when I was like 7.
Yeah.
But like for the majority of that time, like I wasn't like writing music or
Mm.
anything. Like I kind of had like some vague ambitions of like being famous or something because I was
Yeah.
a kid, but I don't think I really like actually did anything with it. And then in high school I started writing music, but by that point I was already into like, writing. So I guess it's kind of like I guess the music came first, but not in like a creative outlet sort of way.
Mm.
Just like I took piano lessons, and I'm actually the only kid I think who like wanted to take piano lessons.
Why
Like
did you want to
most,
take them?
I don't know. Like I think a lot of it was like everyone else, all the other like kids I was friends with, they all had like a thing, and that most of the time it was like they did gymnastics or like they did cheerleading or they were on like the softball team. And like I'm
Right?
not a very like sportsy person.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in Girl Scouts, but I wanted to do something, and that just seemed like something that I could do. So I really,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I'll do that, and my
I
parents were happy to like
yeah.
get me lessons. So
I took like 5 piano lessons in high school after my guitar player left and I had no musician, and that was it. It wasn't that I really loved. I've written like 2 songs on piano, but I've written a lot on bass. But that's interesting that it was piano. But you started writing like creatively writing before that. When did that happen? When did you start
it's
like
kind of like
yeah,
something I've always wanted to do. Like even like it sounds so like, oh, my whole life, but like
yeah,
even when I was a little kid, I used to like try to write. Like before I could actually write, I would like try to write books, but I would just like draw pictures. And do you know how like in a cartoon, like when they're writing something, it's just kind of like a scribble that's
yeah.
like this uniform thing? I would do that and then I would read them back and like make stuff up. So it was always kind of
Cool.
something I did and like wanted to do, but I don't know that I really like realized I could get like serious about it until I was older, obviously, like high
Yeah.
school, end of high school, early college. But I mean, I was always doing it.
Because now you dabble and you do the obviously both. I mean, I would say I don't really know if you do nonfiction as well with poetry and fiction.
I mean, I do, but I haven't really done anything with it. Like I have a
Yeah,
couple essays that are published, maybe just even one, I don't know.
yeah,
But it's like something I do, but it never really goes anywhere. Like I could submit things or try to put a bigger project together, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. There's
Yeah.
so many other things I want to do also. So
It's true. I mean, that's kind of the blessing and curse when you have like,
yeah.
talents and wants in different fields, you get pulled apart, did so it was really like the idea of making a book though, that seems to be like that was the first thing that really grabbed you.
I think it was because well, I was like really fortunate that the schools that I went to, like they put a huge emphasis on reading, and I was like always a really good, like voracious like reader,
Play
and I was
sports.
always like ahead of everybody else like with reading. So I was always reading like, you know, books that were like a little bit too old for my age, and
Mhm.
I just was always like thinking about books. So then when it got to a point where maybe like I could do that, it was just like kind of a no-brainer in a way. Like
Yeah.
it always seemed within reach that like you could be an author and write a book. And because I liked reading so much, it kind of made sense that I would want to like participate in that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I relate. Like high school, like I started like wanting to write books when I was little. It was like the first thing I really wanted to do was write books,
Mm-hmm.
besides like sports. And obviously, sports were definitely in an Italian family, definitely a better idea than writing books. And then in high school, music found me. I was just like, oh, I like this too. And then I just kind of it's been a wrestling match with both.
Yeah.
Um, when did like the songwriting process start?
I
I'm
think in high school, like I think in high school, I kind of like stalled on the piano lesson, like actually learning how to play. Like I
Yeah,
definitely have hit some kind of skill wall where like unless I wanted to like really put the effort in to like learn really complicated music, I probably wouldn't get any technically better.
yeah,
But I had this really great piano teacher who like my parents would still like pay for me to get lessons up till I was like 17. And I would just go in there and like show her stuff that I was working on. And she would be really encouraging. And
that's
like
cool.
it was just like I started doing little like they would have little not even like talent shows at my high school, but there was like a thing every year where they would have like the alumni come back and there would be like hot chocolate and people could sign up, kind of like an open mic, and I would do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh hey, like I'm kind of good at this. Like it's not just something that like I dabble in anymore. Like I'm kind of good at it. But honestly, I don't think music has ever really gotten that far past that stage for me. Like it's something I want to like go a little bit further with,
Yeah.
but I just like haven't really like put the time in. So hopefully now that this novel's done, I'll be able to do that.
Yeah, you can be the triple threat.
Yeah.
You know? No, I relate. Like, see, it's for me with open mics is when I started reading, and I loved it at first, and then I was like foolish, and I thought like art was this really pure thing, and that all that mattered was like what was the best work. And I did a poetry slam, and there was a skeezy guy there,
Oh
and he
no.
just voted for this girl that he wanted to hook up with. He gave me like two, like, and it was a pretty good. Everybody liked it, but he like gave it like nothing. He's like, oh, this is lame. And he gave this girl like 10, and I was like, this is this. I was like in high school. It's like this is
Yeah.
not pure. This is art. I thought like I was looking for like this purity in the world. I'm glad I got that out of the way in my
Yeah.
teens instead of my 20s, because I feel like there's guys in their 20s that like learn that, and it's like way
Yeah.
to learn that. But
Definitely.
yeah, no, open mics are a good place. I really miss open mics. Like that's one of the biggest things. Even though I'm in like a band now, I'm like, man, I would love to just like workshop some stuff on stage. When was the last time you played at like an open mic?
Um, I wouldn't call this an open mic, but
Or
a
just like a,
couple.
yeah. Oh, we have a break. Oh no, I gotta talk for a minute while Kat's computer gets back going. Can you hear me, Kat? Are you there? I will tell a story in the meantime. I would play at this open mic. Oh, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna share. I played at an open mic. It was a Haitian open mic, and I liked it better than like the white people open mic because they were fucking lame. And they didn't like my cover of Get Low, which to be honest was problematic, but still was cool cover. But anyways, all right. So yes, back to you.
So, so my friend lives in like the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, and I went to visit her, and she took me to this taxidermy themed bar. Like it was the only bar in
Nice.
town, and they had
Yeah.
like taxidermied animals and like glass cases on the walls. And there was like, they had like some weird like jam band night kind of thing, but it was a small town, so it was always just like this one group of guys, like this one band would always get up and play. And she was like, you should get up and like do something with them. And I was like, oh, I don't know. So I got really drunk, I went up and I like started like, I like sang this like song that I had kind of been working on, and all the guys like improvised behind me. It was so awesome.
That's
That's
fun.
like the last time I really was able to get up and do something music wise and in person, but that was pretty fun.
It's interesting because like in writing, right, like you're pretty damn young, especially in writing years. I think you know, I don't want to say your age or anything, but you're young. Like you're playing with house money. Like it's cool. Like, you know, I think a lot of writers, it takes them till they're like 30s till they can put a book out so they feel good, and you're like doing it in your early 20s basically.
I'm 26, mid 20s.
Mid 20s, that's still freaking, yeah, great. Like I think you and Justin Little like are the like youngest published writers I know. Shout out to Justin, aka Vernaculus. I think, yeah, you guys are Twitter friends.
Yeah, we interact once in a
That's
while.
cool. That makes me happy. I like seeing young writers sticking together and hanging out and all that stuff online. But yeah, like it's interesting because it's like you're totally like ahead of the game in the writing world, but you're kind of like still trying to find your way with your music side, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of it too is, oh, go ahead.
No, we're good. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. A lot of it too is like because I'm, you know, partially because I'm young and partially just because my life has been really weird the past couple of years. Like my living situations have changed so much. Like the amount of time I have to spend on stuff changes so much that like to work on music and to be able to record stuff, you need like some degree of like some stability, like having like a setup and stuff like that. So I'm only just now getting to the point where that's actually possible for me. So hopefully soon.
Yeah, it's weird that way. I mean, I would say like writing is emotionally and mentally taxing. I don't even know if writing itself is. It's the getting published, I think, and getting feedback. And some people it's money, some people it's feedback. It's like that's but writing itself isn't. There's not that much. Like we read books, we get inspired, we write. It's not that complicated. But with music, it's like, you know, I can relate. Like, I mean, I'm in like my 30s now, and it's like I feel like I'm just hitting my groove with my music because I have that stability now in my life. I have that right part. I have a person I can record with, and that like, it's not. I mean, you have an editor, you know, when it comes to publishing, and it's like that plays a part, but like recording and money and time and all that stuff it's so much harder. It's just so much harder. I mean. So like for me, it's like the writing stuff has actually seemed a lot easier because I've had so much heartbreak with music, like having like bands. Like I had like one band that just drove me insane. I mean, it just wore me into the ground. Just ran me into the ground, like two different, like the bass player drove me crazy and the drummer drove me crazy. And then they just like, I just didn't want to do it anymore for like, I didn't want to do it for like years because it was just such a burnout where I'll get a bad review and I'm like, you know, nah, and then I just move on. It's just not that soul crushing. How is your experience though with like getting feedback with writing, like positive or negative? Like, what is it a weird thing?
Kind of. I feel like it's hard for me to like, I have trouble believing positive feedback, and not even out of an insecurity thing, but just because like I think as a writer, like you end up kind of getting to know most of the people who like end up interacting with your work. So it always kind of feels like somebody, you know, is like saying something and it's like, oh, well, they have to say that. I don't really get a ton of like negative feedback about my writing, or even like besides like working with an editor or something, like constructive criticism, because I feel like even a lot of like reviewing books is like people just talk about the things that they like. Sometimes I kind of wish I could get a little bit more of like a read on what my weaknesses are, not because, well, maybe out of masochism, but also just because that's a hard thing to wrap your head around by yourself.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say it's true. It's like, I mean, my job is basically to tell people what's bad in the right. I enjoy it. I actually, I don't know if I'm like a sadist, but I enjoy it. I enjoy like, okay, this is what we have to fix. And I didn't never wanted to be an editor. I just kind of like stumbled into it. I'm like, oh, I'm actually not good at seeing what's wrong in my own work, but I'm really good at seeing what's wrong in others and how to fix it. But yeah, that's a thing too, because and it's interesting. Different scenes are different that way too. I mean, I would say, what is it called? Is it still the indie lit scene? Is it like?
I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's weird. Like I'm just on the periphery of all these scenes. I'm like the
Me
guy.
too. I don't know where I fit in. So.
Yeah, I'm like the guy in Brick. Do you ever see that movie?
No.
Oh, check out Brick. It's cool. But like he's just like he's cool with like the different scenes in the high school, but he's not really part of any of the scenes. And I kind of relate to that. And it's like, but it's like, yeah, like the indie lit, it's like no one's really gonna tell you how it's bad, you know, and
Right.
horror, people either say it's great or it's terrible. There's those two extremes and just different in different genres. But yeah, the indie scene is pretty, it's weird. It's like it's in the reviews itself, it's actually pretty positive. Everybody's kind of cheerleading for everybody. We're on Twitter, it's different too. Twitter, there's a lot of you know, whatever. But Twitter kind of brings out the worst, I think, though.
Oh yeah.
Everybody. It's just such a bad site, and I'm stuck on it. I guess, do you feel stuck on Twitter too? Like you can't leave it even if you wanted to?
Yeah. I actually did leave last year for a couple of months, and I was just saying the other day, like I didn't really miss it, but then for some reason I just felt like, oh, it'll be different this time. And you know, just came crawling back. And it is a little bit different this time because I know that I don't need it, but at the same time I feel like I need it.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It's social media, just it's heaven and hell.
Oh yeah.
Like it's great because like we can do this.
Yeah.
I know you through social media. Like we're having this, you know, fellow artists, fellow dual artists, but it's like there's that great part of it, and then you have this other part where it's just people, it just, I don't know what it is. It just brings out a lot of resentment and frustration with people, and the communication can, I don't know. It's just, I have my frustrations with it, but it is what it is.
I mean, I think part of it too is like because I think on Twitter it's hard to like you can't really talk about something in a generalized way without stepping on people's toes.
Yeah.
So when people start talking about their art and the kind of things they like or what they think other people should do, like everyone takes everyone else personally. Like it feels like it's a message that's exactly for you or about you, and it's really difficult, I think, to like take things at face value that people say, because we're just not really designed to like keep that many different people's opinions in our heads at once.
No, we're not. We're definitely not. And I don't like the owning part of it. I don't like the owning
part.
I think it's lame, and but anyways, we're here we are. I don't even want to talk about Twitter, but we're talking about Twitter. All right, I'm changing the subject, getting back to
all right, sounds good.
Music, but no, I mean, I think it's cool. Like, you know, I really think I always root for like really young writers, because it's like, you know, it's just a lot of heartbreak, and just to see, you know, writers getting there in an early way and finding what their voice is, you know, I guess like, you know, you're kind of like with your poetry book and your novel, I definitely see a style emerging. It is kind of like it's a chill style. It's kind of whimsical realism. I don't know.
That's cool. I've never heard that before.
I don't want to sound like a pretentious asshole, but that's kind of
you don't.
See what you're going. There's a whimsical quality, like what I've read of the novel so far. There's a whimsicalness, but there's also this really major realism going on, where it's like, this is life. I'm just kind of showing it. Like, what do you think? Like do you see a style emerging, or are you just like, I'm just writing what feels right?
I don't know. Like, I guess in hindsight, I kind of do. Someone once described it to me, like just my poetry book. They said they felt like it was like somehow slapstick. I was like, yeah, like that's just kind of how I see things. Like to me, realism is that like the whole whimsical aspect and like everything being sort of like stupid and like funny in a way. Like that's just how I see things. So like if I was gonna do like hard realism, it would still just come out like that, because that's just the way that I think.
That you see, no, it's good. Like that's great. You already have like a vision and style that you know, you can see a lens through, and that can go into both art forms. And I see, like, I always like to see a correlation. Like I see music a little of that, but like the songs you played for me, what I've seen, there's a different side to you with music. Do you notice that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think I'm a little bit more sentimental. Like I'm not as afraid to be sentimental.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why sometimes I gravitate toward music more in certain times of my life than others, because there's just certain things that feel very like bleeding heart, cringy to do in writing, but in music
Yeah.
that it's like a lot easier to get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I totally makes sense. I mean, I relate, like, there's just stuff I could never think about doing in prose or poetry that I can feel really good about doing in a
Yeah.
song. It's just this, I don't know. I kind of I like songwriting probably the most when all's said and done. There's something about it that it's not, it doesn't come as much, it's like it's
Yeah.
really hard to just come up with a song, finish it and feel good about it. But when it comes, it's really exciting. I don't know, it's like I love prose, but I'm curious where you're at with it. I'm kind of like burnt out by poetry. Like I just don't want to write poetry anymore, but I want to write songs. Do you feel that same love of poetry now that you've written a novel and you have music, or is it what's your
I don't
relation to
know.
poetry right now? I'm curious.
I'm kind of like in limbo right now. Like I didn't write a lot of poetry while I was working on the novel because I
Yeah.
felt like every little like thing that I had in my head, I just kind of got like cannibalized by the
Yeah.
book I was already
Novels
working
do that.
on.
Yeah.
And I've written a couple poems since then, but right now I'm in this like weird limbo state where I'm like, I'm like working on another novel already because I don't know.
Mm.
And I had like another project I was kind of working on before the novel, and I have another book I need to put out, and I want to put an album out. So like in terms of like writing something new, like I really just I'm trying to like get all the things off my plate that are already there. And I haven't really done much of anything like besides working on this other novel that I felt compelled to start when my other one wasn't even out yet. But yeah.
Novels do that. Novels are, I mean, that's the other thing. Like novels are addicting. Like I love them. Like
Yeah.
that's what I want to write. I mean, you could, it depends on the size. Like some people will say that's a novella. I mean, or a novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's the same thing. I like writing short novels and long novels, basically. Like that is my favorite thing. And songs. That's kind of where my art went from. Like it's weird. Like doing after my poetry book that I did, like my real one, not my like goofy shit I tried to make money off of. um I was just tapped out and I'm just like, it's weird. I just all and the novels take all the energy away from poetry. It's weird that way.
I also think like poetry and songwriting in a way too, like there's a lot more of an instant gratification feeling. Like when something's good, you're like, this is good. Like
Yes.
you like get to feel satisfied immediately. But like it takes a lot of like discipline when you're like, because if you're writing, like, I don't know, I mean, I'm pretty new at this, but when you're writing prose and like you think it's great while you're doing it, it usually sucks. Like it's usually so bad.
It-
But like
yeah.
when something sounds good to you, like in your ear, you know that it's good, or you know that at least you're like getting somewhere. Or maybe that's just an instinct that
No,
that you develop over time. I don't know.
it's
But
weird. And like as you keep writing, like I've become like a drafter, so I'm just like I like to write 3 to 6 drafts, but I write more genre fiction,
mhm.
like and that's a different thing than I would say like I mean, I guess your book would technically, if you had to classify it, would probably be literary fiction.
Mhm.
It's just like, here's the character, here's their growth,
Yeah.
shit's happening. It's not like plot, like, oh, and then boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. No, I publish a lot of that with class. Even though I'm a genre guy, I actually really love literary fiction because it's just about the language and the characters. But yeah, no, that's a good point though. Like it's weird, like, if it feels good. I don't know. It's just like if I'm hitting the beats right, I guess. For me, I'm like, okay, this is good. If there's an emotional, less about if it's good. I think for me, if it's like if it emotionally feels right, it's usually
Yeah.
good. And that's more of a barometer than, oh man, that line's fucking awesome. Oh, like that will blow up in your face. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what got you writing the next novel? Like that's interesting. You just like, all right, let me write another one of these motherfuckers.
I don't know. I it was funny because while I was getting toward the tail end, like editing this, like the fountain and trying to get it out and whatever, I was like, yeah, after this, I'm taking a long break. I'm not gonna write anything. But I missed it, I guess. And it's weird now because I think I'm like moving a little bit too fast because this thing I'm working on now, like I would say I'm working with like a totally different like palette. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's just not the same. And I find
Good.
myself kind of wanting to like wishing I could go back to like how it felt when I was I'm like, I don't know, it's just chasing some kind of feeling that like I'm saying something I need to say.
Mhm. Yeah, the second,
I don't know.
the second book is a weird book because you're like, all right, you don't have that like, oh, I'm gonna finish my first novel. And the second,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I did this before, but this feels different. What does that mean? Well, whatever, I'm gonna keep writing. And yeah, I don't know. It's like I think like I like mantras, like lame mantras has helped me kind of stay sane with writing. And like I like trust the
Mhm.
process. And I do think the novel is just such a
Yeah.
process inducing thing. And I mean, the nice thing to learn is like the
Yeah.
first draft doesn't have to be perfect, you know. I think that's something like
Yeah.
you can kind of like, all right, let me at least get this draft down and I can go look at it. I mean, so with your first one, did you just like write a straight draft and edit it, or did you do like a couple edits, or
Um,
what was the kind of the process of it? I'm always curious.
like I started writing it like I guess it was like summer of 2019, and I wrote like half of it really
Yeah.
quickly. Like I was just like I had this like I guess backed up for so long. I was like, okay, like this is what I want. But I wrote it out of order. Like I don't think I could ever be the person who writes like chronologically the
Interesting.
way that things unfold in the book. And then I saw that that 30 West was like doing, they like wanted pitches, and I was like, what if I like pitched this? And then I finished it, and like that was just, you know, and I really wasn't taking it all that seriously at the time because I was like, am I really like writing a novel? Like, am I going to be able to finish this? But then they liked it and they wanted to publish it. So I was like, oh, like, okay. And then that's kind of like when I started working on the other half. And then as I was working on that, like the parts I had yet to write, I was going back and editing some of the stuff that was already written. And there was a lot of like little things to try and make sure like point A connected to point B because they were all kind of written like anachronistically. Like,
Yeah.
so it was a really like weird process, but I don't have nothing to base it off of because it
Yeah,
was my
no.
first one. So yeah.
That's cool. No, that's cool. Like that's, I mean, I'm all like as an editor, I tell writers like, dude, whatever works, you for it,
Yeah.
do it, and try new. You can try new things. You know, that's hard. That would be hard for me. I really give you respect. I would, for me, I need that chronological order. But there's a lot of writers. Who I was talking about with Lise the other day. I forget where they'll write from the, some writers they'll write from the middle and they'll
Mhm.
just kind of like, then they'll work their way backwards and work their way forwards. There's all types of processes, and that's the cool
Yeah.
thing about it. And it's, yeah, it's kind of addictive to work on novels. There's like there's this really purposeful
Yeah.
kind of work that I like about it that I didn't really get. I don't want to shit on poetry. I'm not
No,
trying,
yeah, I get what you
but
mean.
I didn't get that from, I did get it from trying to put a collection together. I think there's something purposeful about putting a collection of like a bunch of poems you've worked on for a long time. Like I did that,
Yeah.
but, and I did like my horror film poems. That was like persona poems, and I'm like, okay, this is a cash grab poetry book, which is a rare thing to do, but it sort of worked. But yeah, no, a novel is just like there's something, and you put a lot of yourself in it. Did you put people
Yeah.
I like to do this. I like to put people I know and make them characters and Frankenstein them so their own thing. Do you put any people in your
Oh
in your
yeah.
novel? Cool.
It's funny because I put people that I know and then I like give them each other's names. Like did you, I think you must have gotten to this part, the like drug dealer. I don't know if you got.
I don't know. No, I would have, wait. Yes, I feel like I got right to the drug dealer.
Okay, well, like that's a real person that I knew,
Yeah.
and I just like gave them the name of some other person that would never think that that was them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you change the, if you like, not that people from that far back in my life like would read my stuff, but I just like I put the names in a blender and I put everyone in a blender, and yeah, I mean I
Fun,
think
yeah.
pretty much everything in my novel, like the setting to just like stuff that I saw, like I don't think I'm a very imaginative person. Like a lot of it is like just things that have happened or whatever happened to other people and
That's
throwing
a
them in a
great
blender and seeing what comes out.
first novel though, I have to say. And it's weird, like my first, like I this is crazy, just I'm sharing this even though I probably shouldn't. Is I have a novel that I started in college and that I went back to a couple years ago after watching Lady Bird. I just got inspired by the movie Lady Bird, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this again, and this thing, and I finished it, but there's so much of like real stuff in it compared to
Yeah.
like the crazy stuff I've been writing lately, with like the satire and stuff, and it's like I think that's the best place to do that, like with a real novel, like Tia Hashik, like the Life of the Party, like a
Mhm.
lot of it is her real stuff. And I mean, would you say your book is auto fiction, or is it like pretty fictionalized?
It's pretty fictionalized, but I think if you like knew me really well, you would see where everything kind of comes
Yeah,
from.
that's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, it's really weird, but that's the other thing too. Like now I'm working on this other thing and I don't really like have that sense of like urgent buildup of like I have all these things I've been wanting
Yeah,
to put into a project and I haven't had found like the right place for them. So I'm like working with what feels like a clean slate for the first time, which is really exciting, but also like it's like a whole different process.
it
It's like a
is.
whole different thing.
It's like I think with young writers, the best is to like have that magic and kind of
Mhm.
itch your way toward like craft, I guess you could call it, or
Yeah.
like storytelling techniques and all that. I think if you throw like that stuff on really young writers, it can kind of be alienating. I got more into the craft stuff in my like 30s, and I think it would have bothered me like rules and all this other stuff in my like when I was just trying to figure my shit out. What are your feelings on like craft and story? Like, are you like whatever, or you're interested, or you're like, I'm just gonna keep writing and whatever?
I feel like it's interesting when I read about that stuff, but then I don't feel like I use it. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
I do, but I don't really like when it comes to what I'm actually doing, my main goal is just to like mess around and do things that feel good and then figure it out later. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, hold on. I'm gonna plug my charger in so that my phone doesn't die in
gotcha.
this. But when I was getting my like I got a BFA in
Yeah,
poetry and I did like short stories as
yeah,
well. And I kind of feel like in the middle of that, I kind of was like, there's no way that I'm ever going to be able to write like, hold on, okay, my video is going to stop. Can you
okay,
hear me?
yeah, you're good.
Okay, I can't hear you, but maybe
You
I
can't
should
hear
speak
me?
up. You're really quiet. Hold on.
Oh wait,
I'm sorry, my phone is like a mess.
this is the real stuff. I don't have time to edit, so it's just like, hey, they're gonna get the real stuff. So it's keeping it real on the paragraphs and
Okay.
power chords. Okay, can you hear me?
All right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, so I'm getting from you, like, you don't see yourself as like writing like a thriller one day down the road, like a highly plotted thriller. You never know.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah. I didn't think I was ever a novel because even that when I was like more into poetry felt like way too craft heavy. Like I was never going to be able to like do that kind of thing. And then it was only when I got to a point where I was like, well, let me just do it like ironically for fun and we'll see
yeah,
what happens. Where I was like, oh, I can do it. It
yeah.
was very intimidating. So now
It is.
maybe I'll do something even more intimidating later down the line. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's the trick. Is like just make like one step. I always say that to like younger writers I work with, like take a couple steps, don't run, to the craft land, but like it's cool to take a few steps and just kind of as you keep going with the next book, take a few steps out of your comfort zone. I think is kind of a fun way to do it. Don't like totally run away from everything that feels good to you, but I think it's good to take a few steps and be like, all right, I'm gonna try this out. Like,
Yeah.
that was good. Like, you're like, I didn't think you didn't think you could write a novel, and you're writing a novel that people are liking, and it's cool. It's like, it's a process. So, but it seems like you're kind of you're finding your groove as a writer. Like, it seems like you're starting to like hit your
Yeah.
groove. That's cool. That's really cool. Like, where are you gonna go, you think, with your music? Like, probably, like, do you want to record? Like, are is it like a pressing thing, or is it something like when you find the time and things are good? Where do you feel with like your music side?
It's something I really want to do, but I just I don't know. I don't know if it's because I keep making excuses or what, but it feels like I just never have like all of the right like stars aligning or whatever at the time. Like I feel like it depends so much on having the right other people around,
Yeah.
like, and having people, because like for me, like I don't know, I actually got like Ableton last year. I was like, oh, during the pandemic, while I'm writing a novel, I'm gonna somehow like learn how to produce music.
Yeah.
Never happened. But maybe I can do that, but I'm not really in a space right now where I can like go depend on other people to help me record and stuff. But it's
Yeah.
something like I want to do. Just I really don't know where to start or like what I need in order to
Yeah.
like get to a place where I'm like do it. So I don't know. I'm not in a rush, but
Yeah. It's
I
tough.
would be sad if I got happened. Yeah.
If you got what now? What was the last thing you
I
said?
said I'd be sad if I got to the end of my life and it never happened. I would be sad, but I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, give it, it's one of those, I think you should. Like I do. I heard your songs. Like I definitely think you should record. Do you think you need like a band with it? Or you just want to like have the piano? Like what is your
The thing is, I don't want one, but I feel like I need one. Like, I really don't want to involve that many other people
Yeah.
because to me, it's like way too much at once. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like barely comfortable with myself and like my own kind of creative thing that like I just feel like I'm not ready to like bring in all these other people, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, you never know. I mean, the thing is about piano, and I envy you for it, is you really don't need a band when all said and done. You really don't. I mean, you can, if you just have a great song on piano, like you can put it out and I can listen to a song that's just a singer and a piano where I can't really enjoy it as much when it's just an acoustic guitar and a singer, if
Right.
that makes sense. Like
Well,
acoustic
that
guitar,
kind of has the vibe of, like some guy at a party who just like pulls out his guitar and like
yeah.
nobody asked, you know,
Like,
like
no, no. But I can dig a piano and a vocalist. Like that, I could see a show with just somebody playing piano and singing original songs if I really like the songs. Like I could see I'm trying to think of an example. Like if Lana Del Rey like went and just sang with somebody playing
yeah.
piano, that would work. Like that would be fine, you know. Um, but yeah,
Regina Spektor, ever listen to her?
what's that?
Regina Spektor, have you ever listened
Oh
to her?
yeah, I dig Regina
Yeah,
Spektor.
kind of like where I get, or I guess where I originally got like my whole thing from. So I always look up to her as like her first album, she recorded them like she played drums on a chair,
Yeah.
and she just like recorded them herself. I was like, I could do that, but I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it's just a matter of where you feel. I mean, for me, I got lucky. Like I met my like who would become my best friend like years ago, and he learned how to record, and he has a studio, and he's a great guitar player. So I'm like, music's really about the situation, like that.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's like I've talked about this previous podcast. Like it's so much about the situation and being in the right one where it's a lot easier to just go, oh, I'm going to write a book and write a book where, oh, I'm going to record an album. That's a lot harder to just
yeah,
do, especially on your own. And I had an experience of recording an awful, what should have been a demo, but we made it an EP and it fucking sucked. I sucked. Like, I'll be the first to admit it. Like, I was not comfortable with the songs. Like, I realized we played them in a different tempo live than we did in the recording, so it threw me off as a singer, and it sucked. Like it was a bad experience, and we wasted money. Like, and it broke my heart. I was like, fuck, like this dream I had, so then to have like a guy where I can go to his studio and we can just do a 2-man band thing, it was great. But if I didn't have that, I might not have any songs recorded, frankly, that are good at least. And so yeah, it's tough. It is really tough. And it's like, now that I have the songs, I'm like, fuck, I got to figure out how to market this, and we can't play shows. And I'm still figuring out when I'm going to put, the album out and all that. And it's tough. Like there's a whole other thing to it.
yeah. I think a lot of it is like being in the right place at the right time. Like writing's very solitary, and
Yeah.
you can just kind of, I mean, and you hear about people recording albums like, oh, I recorded this album on the road, and
Yeah.
but like they already know what they're doing. They're not just like, they didn't just decide to do that. But I don't know.
In recording, like having the right, it really does make a difference. Like it can actually make the song sound a lot different
Yeah,
quality level. It's not just about the song itself. Like if a mediocre song it has really great recording, it can be like a good song. Like it's crazy for me to think about, but it's true. And a good song with bad recording will can sound like a bad song for the most part. So that's like, I don't know, it's like publishing is a pain in the ass and there's a lot of misery with it, but I will take publishing over recording any day of the week. Like it is just, it's the lesser of the evils of art, you know. But I guess, like, speaking of that, like, how do you feel about the whole marketing and promoting, and where do you feel with all that stuff? Like your writing.
It makes me really uncomfortable. I don't think that's like particularly unusual, but
Yeah.
yeah, it makes me uncomfortable to have to like promote my stuff because I like everyone that I know who'd be interested, you know, they're also a writer, so I know that they kind of get it. Like they're not gonna like think I'm being like weird and hacky if I'm like, hey, you know, review my book on Amazon, like if I make some poster. But it's definitely something that like skill I'm particularly great at yet, but maybe I'll get more comfortable with it
You're
over
pretty good.
time.
I mean, honestly, you're pretty good. Like I've seen all types of writers I've worked with and published even, and some are just like, they're like fish to water. I hate to use a cliche metaphor like that, but it's just like they're fucking just good at it. Like they love it. And there's some they really struggle with. Yeah, I'd say you're somewhere in the middle. Like you're actually pretty solid. You know, it's like, I mean, I don't like it. I love promoting other people's work, which is great because I'm a
Yeah,
publisher. But with my own shit, I'm just like, fuck it, whatever. Here it is. Like, check it out. Oh,
yeah,
whatever. Like I'm just at a point where, you know, I have only so much energy too. Um,
right.
and that's the thing. Like I'm definitely like gearing up, because that's the other thing. Like I got to promote an album this coming year, and I'm like, that's a whole other thing. Like I got to gear up for that. I'm like, all right, and thinking of marketing and all that. Like, so I'm inching my way to it. Especially in a pandemic, it's tough when you can't play live shows. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's just part of the deal, though. I think, like, and that's interesting too. Like I've hit a point where I want to reach like people who are just readers. That's
Mhm.
what I mean. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I'm sick of writers. It sounds so bad. It sounds so bad, but I mean, I am. I'm just like, oh, what? I love reviewers. I'm like, oh, writers, leave me alone. I've just hit that point. Being
Well,
in the
they're there no matter what. You don't have, you know,
Yeah, no,
there's so yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, oh, whatever. If a writer likes my book or not, I just don't care anymore. But I do like reaching. I like reviewers. They're like heroes to me. Like people who just like review books. That's more in the genre, though. I feel like in indie and literary fiction, it's like it is mostly just other
Yeah,
writers reading
right.
your shit. Yeah, yeah. It's
I don't with that. I mean, I did. So I have like some other. I'm like an admin of this group on Facebook for like indie music, and I'm in like a group admin chat. And I was like, I like promoted my book to them, and I like posted about it on there. So I know I got a couple, you know, people who probably would normally not have been interested, and you know, maybe they'll read, maybe they won't. But other than that, like, I don't even know like what kind of person would like want to read a book about nothing, or like how to spin a book that's about nothing to people who like don't don't understand that. I don't know. It's just
celebrities.
weird.
That's who. No, celebrity. I've seen celebrities read some indie lit shit, man. I've seen it pop up from time to time. What's her name was reading Darcy. I
Oh
think
yeah. Was that Kendall Jenner?
Kendall Jenner. She was reading. I mean, so it's like celebrities like indie lit. I'm convinced of that. You know, um, he's not a celebrity, but like I'm friends like Marcin Hefner's. Yeah, Marcin Hefner, Hefner's son. Awesome dude, by the way. Loves indie lit. He's a writes indie lit. He loves it. He's an awesome dude, by the way. Shout out to Marcin. You're my buddy. He's a good dude. But yeah, no, he loves indie lit. Like, so it's interesting. It's like yeah, it's like the normies are probably not going to want to read indie lit, but there's a lot there's like it's a weird genre that way, like indie and literary stuff. Like it does reach people, but you would never think, you know, and I think
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. And I think it's weird too, because it's like I could see indie filmmakers liking indie lit in that
Yeah.
regard, because it is kind of like I mean, just there's scenes, you know, and it's like that's a movie. It's this collection of scenes, you know.
That's something I think about a lot. Like I have weird like I'm not one of those people who like hates like genre fiction and stuff.
Yeah,
I just don't. But there's definitely something to be said, I think, for like a lot of like television and movies that are like more mainstream, I feel like they've gotten a lot more like complex over time. Like,
Big time.
like people's like exposure to different kinds of storytelling has gotten a lot more complex as a result. So I think
Yeah.
like there's a lot of reading that people would probably enjoy doing, like a lot of books people would enjoy reading that like they just aren't exposed to because
Yeah.
they, you know, they obviously like that kind of thing that's a lot easier to accomplish in a book than it is in like a Netflix show anyway.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. So I don't know. I think it's an exciting time, and I mean, obviously I'm biased. I mean, I'm running a small press, but I think it's an exciting time in indie publishing, especially.
Yeah.
I think like, you know, as corporations, like, I mean, it was now it's a big four, I believe it is now, or you know, with the bigger, like the big five is now the big four. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to be so kind of sanitized. I mean, there's still great literary fiction that gets published, but
Yeah.
it's going to get less and less, and there's going to be just such risk aversion that you're going to see some really cool stuff happening more and more. I don't even think just in the micro press. I think you're going to see like mid-sized presses pop up that have like Tyrant's a good example.
Yeah.
You know, presses like that where they have distribution and they're publishing kind of riskier stuff. I think that's kind of the wave of the future, and a lot of micro presses are going to keep popping up, and that's cool. That's cool. So, speaking of indie music, there is a band we both love, and that band's Spoon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When did you get into Spoon? I want to talk about Spoon just for a little bit because I love Spoon.
I think I was in high school. I was probably like 9th or 10th grade. And I had some like weird like MP3 player that had like it had like preset songs, and it also had like, it would give you like recommendations. It was like they were trying to be an iPhone. It wasn't a Zune, but it was like
Yeah.
something similar to that. And I think it was the song I Summon You off of Give Me Fiction was like the first one that I heard. And I was so obsessed with it. I listened to it every single day, like the entire way to school, the entire way back, all day, every day for like months. And I was like, oh, like this is such a great band. And from then on, like I've gone through phases where I listen to them more and sometimes less. But yeah, like ever since then, I became like really obsessed with Spoon and
Just got that thing. Yeah, it's fun to talk to another Spoon fan. It's like, and I remember you joking to me on Twitter about the being like a smart man's rock and roll.
yeah, it was like the
Thinking man's.
rock and roll. Yeah, someone on
True. I hate that, but I love that at the same time. It's such they're like they are rock and roll. Like that's what I love about them. They're rock and roll, but it's not like butt rock and roll.
Yeah, although I like that too, honestly. But
I like butt rock. I want to state that. I like even Korn. I even appreciate some new metal, but I like that about Spoon, that they have that rock and roll energy, but it's kind of smart and fun. And yeah, there's just something about that. And they just put out quality album after quality. They're like a rock and roll band that just keeps doing it, you know, and
good. So funny. I feel like they put out some of the best music. Their music's always featured in like movies and stuff, and everyone knows it, but nobody's a fan of Spoon for some reason.
Yeah, it's
like
weird.
Band's like everyone's favorite band, but like it should be. I don't know.
They're like a lot of people's like 5th favorite band, I feel like.
Yeah.
They're like in your top, maybe your top 10. I mean, they're in my top 5, I would say, of like
I would say that
bands. You know, like I got to see them. I've seen them live about, I want to say 4 or 5 times. I lost track. You know, oh, you got to see Spoon. Like you, when this is over, promise me on this show that you're gonna go to a Spoon show. I'll freaking
I promise.
Go with you. Well, that's probably too far because that's like what, Pittsburgh, I think you're at, or
anymore. I'm in New Jersey now. Probably not
that
far.
That's not far. That's not that far.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe a Spoon New Jersey show. We can all go. But yeah, no, they're amazing live. Like I remember Britt Daniels came out and he did like a solo, like acoustic to open up the set. And it just blew me away. It was just like, not many people can, like a rock and roll guy can just come out, play like acoustic. And he was like a cover. I forget the song. And it was just amazing. I'm like, Britt Daniel. On a side note, another great indie band that wrote an awesome song about Britt Daniels called Britt Daniels Stole My Girl by,
oh my God,
by the band called I love this band, the Gay Blades. Check them out sometime.
I will.
The Gay Blades. They're a Jersey band. They're actually a Jersey band. They had like a minor hit with this song called "Oh Shot." And it was just a really cool, catchy, like garage rock sounding song. But yeah, they did a Britt Daniels, and he said Britt Daniel really stole his girlfriend, you know, and he you know, I believe he said he got cucked by Britt Daniel during the concert. And
That's all.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. He's a great frontman too. James Dean Wells, I want to say, the Gay Blades. But anyways, yeah, they're an awesome band. They're an awesome band. What are some of your favorites? I'm trying to. It's escaping me now. Tame Impala.
Yeah.
Not like your band.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like the number one.
But yeah, that's like my main obsession.
I enjoy them. I don't like them as much as Spoon, but I want to, like, what is it about Tame Impala that makes them like your band? I'm really curious.
I think like musically, so like it's mostly just like, first of all, it's mostly just like, it's all written, recorded. I think most of the albums produced too by just like the one guy, Kevin Parker. So I think that's pretty cool. Like it's just,
it is cool.
Like inside someone's brain. Like there's no other influence on it. And I like that. And I also think that like stylistically, like even though I don't even make that kind of music, but I feel like somehow, like as a writer and maybe like as a musician or an artist in general, like we're kind of like this is so deranged to like admit to someone, but like I feel like we're on like similar paths or something. Like he's kind of grown in a way like in music that like I kind of relate to. Like even the genres that he works with have changed over time. Like I always feel like he puts out the right music at the right time that like I specifically am able to appreciate for what, and I don't get that a lot with other bands. Like I listen to them and then I'm like, oh, they have another album out and I like it, but it takes me so long to like get into new music. Like if I hear a new album, it takes me a while to like even decide if I like it or if I keep coming back. But I never have that feeling with them. Like it's just always like right. I don't know. It sounds so deranged to say, but like yeah, there's like some like parasocial thing going on there. But
it's fun to have that band. Like I haven't had that band in a while, I would say. I had that with Nine Inch Nails when I was in like high school. I feel like in a weird way, Tame Impala is like a well-adjusted like Trent Reznor. What's his name again? The singer? What is it?
Kevin Parker.
Kevin Parker, like he is kind of a Reznor type character. I mean, he's doing all the songs himself. I mean, Reznor did most of them himself. It's just, this other field, but that's, I mean, Tame Impala has really become like that indie because they have good hooks, but yet it's not like too poppy, I think, so it's like this nice middle ground between like indie and pop. I do think everything is moving toward pop structure to some degree. I think
totally.
I mean, I would just
well too, like he it's clear when you listen to him that like he listens to all different kinds of music.
I do like that about him.
That like he's not afraid to be like, oh, like I love pop music or whatever, even though the fan base is like totally toxic and they're just like, I want you to go back to making guitar music and whatever. Like he just that's cool. So.
Good bands have a lot of toxic fans. I mean, and that goes with pop too. I mean, I remember going with an ex-girlfriend to see Britney Spears, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, I've never went to a pop music. I've gone to so many indie and rock shows in my life, hip hop, never went to a pop show. And I saw like Britney in like 2009, I think. It was like the circus. We're all on a circus or whatever. And it was just like, what the fuck? It was just, that was like scarier than seeing like Manson and Pantera. Like I've seen Pantera in the pit and I like got the shit beat out of me in the pit. But the Britney show is just like, what the fuck is going? This is like some satanic spell happening here. Like it was just, and the Pussycat Dolls were the opener. And I was like, what the fuck? And then like she didn't sing, she just danced and mouth flipped, and I was just like, this is fucking wrong. I love Britney. I'm not anti Britney. I want to say that I have a lot of love and respect for Britney. I don't want to see her live shows though. And have you seen Tame Impala live?
Yeah, twice.
How is the show? Like it's like does he have
awesome? It's a great show. Like he does all the visuals himself too. Like there's a big he does all the lighting, and then he has like the full band come in, and his live band is like all of his friends in Australia who then they also have their own like projects. And like they all kind of play on each other's albums and stuff, which I think is cool.
That is cool.
they sound really good. They do like, I think for me, like when a band does a little bit of like jammy, like improvised stuff, but not so much that like you're like, what am I listening to? I feel like they have like the best balance of that, where
Yeah.
they're not just sitting up and like playing the exact album exactly as it's recorded,
No, that's
but they're like screwing around so much that you're like, okay, like play something. Like I saw Melvins a while ago, like a couple years ago. I don't know if like you
like
listened.
yeah, I like the Melvins.
But like I had no idea what they were playing half the time. It was just like they played this like drone thing. Like it was probably one of their earlier albums where they have a lot more droney stuff, but it was just like nobody knew what they were even like doing. And then they played like a Beatles cover, which was cool. Like that kind of thing. Sometimes I'm like, I want to hear like something I know. I'm not like play the one single, but yeah, I just think it has a good balance.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I can't, and that's the thing where I'm just like, I want to play live shows and I want to see live shows, and I'm just like dying for it right now. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I've gone through withdrawal, and I'm just like, oh man, please, vaccines come soon. Like that's where I'm at. You know, I can't wait. Like just music's such a part of my life, and it just it feels distant. Even though I'm making music right now, there's this distance from it. Just not having the option to go see a live show is it's tough. It's tough. I think that, you know, obviously there's way worse shit because of COVID, but it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing, but yeah. So, well, we're getting near the end.
It's the last. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the last show I saw was, then I was like, yeah, like why don't I do this more often? Put on more shows. And then like I got to see Bright Eyes, and that was supposed to be like last March. And
Yeah.
like every few months I get the email from like Ticket whatever that's like, hey, like we're gonna postpone this again and push it back again. I'm like, yeah, just let me know. Like
Just let me know when it's happening. Yeah.
like
No,
3 years I'll get to go see.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember the last show. It was with Daniel Nestor, he's very funny. If you're on Twitter, he's a writer who's obsessed with like 80s metal. And we saw like a 70s rock band at a casino. This is so random. I don't ever would even see a band like this. So I thought it'd be fun. And we went like when COVID was starting to, we're lucky we didn't catch COVID, honestly. This was before it like really, this was like early March. I'm trying to remember.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the band name. It's like, I think they play that Motorhead song, Motorhead. I can't even sing it in key.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like 70s, like cock rock, basically. And it was all boomers. He was a Gen Xer and I'm the millennial, and it was just like the most boomer concert ever. And then like 3 days later, it's like, okay, no more concerts anymore. And it was just like, what? I just started going to concerts because I moved out of Claremont. Like I've like in New York now, and where there's no shows in New Hampshire. So I was just like, it's just like, oh, get in my veins. I need some live shows. But anyway, like I would like kind of wrapping up the show. What is a band that I should check out and everybody else should check out that maybe nobody's really know about right now? I'd be curious if you had any like recommendations.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I can list so many. You should listen to, okay, so you kind of like Tame Impala. You should listen to Pond. That's
Pond.
like one of the bands,
P-O-N-D?
like yeah.
Okay.
There's a band, there's like a 90s band called Pond. It's not that. They're like an Australian like 2000s band. And it's one of the guys in Tame Impala live band, and they do like kind of psych, kind of garage rock stuff, and then some of their albums are a little more pop, but it's like really good, kind of kind of like smart, like indie rock pop sort of thing. I think you would like them.
I'll check them out.
They're a little like heavier.
No, I like heavy. Heavy's good. I'm into heavy. So yeah. All right, everybody. You got to check out Pond. Let's give them a go. And this has been really fun. I'm so glad to have you on the show. This is we never really talked before. That's what I love about this show. Like people I know through Twitter and I find it interesting. I'm like, I can like sit and talk to them so I'm not so socially isolated during COVID. That's kind of the point of the show. So this has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me. Yeah,
this is really cool. I'm going to check this book out, everybody. The Fountain by Kat Giordano. I had fun saying that name. I sound like my cousin Dominic. So shout out to cousin Dominic out in Long Island. I hope you're well and safe, and all my cousins out in Long Island, the Italian side. Anything else you would like to plug, or anything on the horizon for this year you'd like to give a shout out to? Anything?
No,
Okay.
just everybody hang. I guess that's my final thought.
That's a good one. So definitely go check out The Fountain. It's a great book. What I've read so far, I really dig it, and I'm picky as fuck. So check it out. And I'm hoping sometime, I want to say 3 years. I think in 3 years, I hope you record something, because you have some good songs. I'd like to see that like recorded professionally to some degree, or even if it's just you do it yourself. I think you got some good stuff. I think you got enough for like an EP or even an album.
Oh, thank you.
So no, I do. I think like definitely keep going with it. It's rewarding. Like music's like, it's such a motherfucker, but when it's done, it's worth it. I can say that with my own experience. Like it's been worth it to finish these songs and feel good about them. So, and on that note, thank you everybody for listening or watching Paragraphs and Power Chords, and check this out next time when that will be. All right, take care. Bye.